Welcome to Justified Riches podcast. Justified Riches is a financial literacy podcast dedicated to empowering individuals with the knowledge and tools to achieve financial independence and professional success. Each episode bridges the gap between ambition and achievement by bringing together a seasoned mentor and an eager mentee for transformative conversations.
Frederick Douglass once said, "It's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men." And our mission here at Justified Riches is to create a stronger generation of youth through financial literacy.
I'm your host, Rich Tavares, aka Positivity Pusher.
And I'm your other host, Justin, aka Stock Knock Life.
And together we hope that you enjoy the show, take notes, and sit down and relax.
Enjoy the episode.
Awesome. So we are here for our second episode of Justified Riches. My name is Rich Tavares, a.k.a. Positivity Pusher. And we've got our co-host over here.
I'm Justin, a.k.a. Stock Knock Life.
And today's episode, we actually have a real special guest that I'm super excited about. Justin came up with the concept, but we're going to be talking about investing, but with a little twist. And our guest right here, who's needs no introduction, fellow Hoogie, part of the Hooga community. So shout out to Hooga. But we got Matthew Rivera, basketball coach, father of three, hosts business improvement workshops. One of the things I loved that I saw was University of Hard Knocks. That is one of the best universities there. But in even learning about Matt, do you go by Matthew?
Matt's good.
Matt, even learning about Matt, it's the mindset. One of the things that I really appreciated. I felt like I was talking to like my cousin from the Bronx, my Puerto Rican cousin over here, where we were on the phone. But really, what we'll learn about him is it's a different kind of mindset. It's a mindset that's more about people. And that's what I kept on hearing you talk about, like when you were saying selling smiles, on the ice shaving. So one of the things that I just really was impressed about and why we're excited to have you on the show is investing could be a black and white thing, or investing could be people driven, and we all get into business for different reasons. And what I just consistently saw about you, where I was like, yo, his vibe is dope, is for you, it seems all about people at the end of the day. Revenue and so forth comes about that, but it's really all about people. So we're so happy to have Matt on the line as part of the episode. I think he's got 25 businesses or...
We have a couple.
It's funny, right? It's like an urban myth, right? Every time somebody goes on, it's like, you got 19 businesses, 25 businesses, 35 businesses. Excellent. So, man, we're so happy to have you. And
Can't forget about our mentee today. And listen, I'm not going to roll out the red carpet like Rich did here for Matt, so you're going to have to roll out the red carpet for yourself.
No problem.
So you can introduce yourself. Go ahead, Chris.
My name is Christian Tavares. I am Richard's son. I'm the mentee today. I want to learn about investing. I take myself in high school right now. I take an investing class about personal finance. I can't wait to learn more about it today. So with my first question, I just want to know, right? How, when you're investing, how do you know which companies to go for or invest? How can you predict?
So that's a complicated question, but the truth is, I used to just invest in everything. So for me, there's there's different types of investing. Is it a money investment, a time investment, or an energy investment? So, I used to want to jump into everyone's business. I'd buy into this, so we'd be opening businesses here, or, I invest into anything I seen online. And now I kind of have actually, it's on my phone, I made a checklist that I go through when I got a new investment that comes across my mind. So, I kind of walk through a little process in my mind, first off, what is it? Are you asking me to give you some money? Is it a company? Who's running the company? Are you asking me to be a partner where I'm going to have to invest time and money, or time? Or are you asking me, for me, the most important is the energy. Because I got kids, I got family, are you asking me to be heavily involved, be at events, basically, give up time with my family? And that's why, I weigh all of those out. And come up to the conclusion, like, again, is it going to change lives? You know, am I going to be impactful? Is it just a money play? And at the end of the day, you know, I work it down to, all right, this fits where I want to go or it doesn't fit. You know, I used to be more about just, all right, let's get involved in everything. And now we're kind of more, okay, this fits, this doesn't fit. And I've accepted the fact that I'm going to say no to more than I'm going to say yes.
Thank you.
So when did it, I should say, when did you decide for yourself, like, okay, you know, the 9 to 5 is not for me, like this entrepreneurship? And I know I read or I listened to a podcast where you said, you know, you don't usually use the term entrepreneurship, you actually use another term.
No, I mean, it's just the entrepreneur, like, is so vague. You know, for me, it's about realizing, like, what your superpower is. When I got out of high school, I took the class like you took, you know, and, like, I always take, like, if I'm listening to a book, like, I make my own theory of what they're saying. You know, so I took that class, and I remember, you know, my uncle did finance, and he was like, you know, if you invest in an IRA at 18 and put whatever in every month, and you could stop investing at like 30, and you'll still have more than the guy that starts at 30. So, like, I remember hearing things like that. So I've always been investing. You know, at 18, I worked at a pizza place. We would buy stocks and, like, do little things, like the stuff, you know, everything. Like, I always wanted to be in that world. Right. But I ended up getting a really good job. You know, at 19 years old, I was making $100,000 a year. I had benefits. I had, like, I lived the life that I wanted to live at 19. And from 19 to probably like 25, it was the best. You know, great money, got married, kids, well, maybe somewhere around there, the kids were coming, house. Everything was good, but work got really slow. And that was when work got slow, and that's, like, mentally where it hit me. Like, I'm not in charge. I'm not, like, I work for somebody else, and when work got slow, they started laying people off, getting rid of people, asking people to travel to different parts of the country. And it was mental to me. It was like, yo, I'm not the boss. Like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm 23 years old making $200,000. I'm the man. And then at 26, I'm like, I'm really not the man. Like, if they lay me off tomorrow, I got no money. I got nothing, you know, like, I lived up to whatever I was making. So I was like, you know what, I need to have a plan. So it wasn't the entrepreneur lifestyle I was going after. It was like, I need to just be able to make money if something happens again. So it basically, it was like 2013, I made a promise. I'm like, I'll never be in this situation again. And it was rough because I went from making $200,000 to $100,000. The work was tight. You know, like, everybody was stressed out. I didn't know if I had a job. Going into work every day not knowing if you got a job. Right. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get stuff on the side, invest more in knowledge and, you know, whatever. So if this happens again, I could be like, you know what? I'll take 2 weeks off. I'll take a month off. So it was really like just that mindset switch where I was like, I'm going to develop something. I didn't know what, but it was like, I'm going to do something. And that's really when I started listening to books and messing around with different businesses and going that route.
Wow.
Man, so as far as books, I know we kind of talked about, we've got a life-changing book we both read, but tell us a little bit about maybe a book or Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? When you read that, like, what kind of effect did it have on you?
So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I want to say that wasn't one of my first books to read. The first book was The Richest Man in Babylon. That was the first one that really hit me. That was like, you know, I say it all the time. I even got it hanging in my office. Like, 10% is yours to keep. Like, I don't even know if that was actually in the book, but I always say, like, yo, every dollar I make, 10 cents, I'm not spent. Like, that's going to investments. You know, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad is crazy because as I've leveled up to different circles and I've hung out with billionaires, multimillionaires, people that own, you know, monster companies, every one of them will mention that book. Like, I have one of my mentors, he started Jackson Your Tax Service.
Oh, wow.
You know, he started Liberty Tax Service. Okay. He's partners in quite a few of my businesses now. You know, he's created over 1,000 millionaires. That's one of his things. And the first dinner we went to, 45 minutes of the conversation was about Rich Dad Poor Dad and the mindset of when they were, when he was talking to the dad about working for him and trying to get paid and working for money. And like, that was the conversation we're having when you're meeting somebody that's worth all of this money, that's done all these great things. And like, since then I've noticed like, I could bring that book up to most people and they're like, yeah, there's something in it that could change your life.
Right.
Wow.
So have you listened to it? Or read it?
I personally have it. I think it sounds like a great book. I think that can definitely teach me a lot of good lessons. I'll look into it.
So in my office, I have 40 copies of it that I give away.
40 copies.
Yeah, well, probably like 35 now, but I bought like a stack of them. That's like the first book, so I'm gonna give you a copy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice. That's a good book though.
It's a start.
Yeah,
It gets you thinking, and you start realizing like there's other ways, and it doesn't really tell you like the one way to do it.
Right. And I know, Christian, you say you're taking a personal finance course. What's some of the things that you guys are learning now in that class?
Well, I mean that class teaches really a lot. It's really, it teaches you like, how are you gonna handle your money in the future?
Okay.
When you grow up, you need a plan. You need a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're not really gonna go anywhere. You're not gonna know what to do. So the whole point of this class is really just to teach me, how am I gonna handle my money in the future? What are different ways I can make profit? What are different routes I can go to make, little side hustles here and there, like investing. From what I know about investing, it can be, it's almost like gambling, right? It can be, you can either put a little and, get a lot, or put a little and you can get money lost there. But that's why you have to make smart choices in investing, from what I know. One thing I do have to ask you is there anything that you've, like, any companies that you've invested in that like you were like really happy to like make, that you waited over time and you got like a big profit out of?
A lot of them.
A lot.
I mean, when you're talking about more like stock investing.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the 10% is all. Every week I invest into stocks. Wow. Since I was probably your age, it's gotten bigger. But I've had, accounts that have 10x, again, it's investing, doing it consistently, having the time on your side, and then reanalyzing. Because I've had like Berkshire Hathaway, I've had, Tesla. Tesla's one of the ones that I bought the day it came out for like $17. And when it went up to $35, I sold it because I was like, wow, I doubled my money.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I didn't sell it, it would have been worth, $400,000 10 years later. I still own Tesla today, but I missed the $400,000 jump. So there's been a lot of stocks and like investing like that. With investing, it's all about starting and then, using time on your side. Like, you're young.
Yeah.
So you have so much time. As long as you're doing something and learning from it, it'll work. And if it don't work, you switch, but you keep investing.
So do you think it's better to, like when you're investing in stocks wise, do you think it's better to wait a longer period of time for certain companies, or do you think it's better to try to get a profit quicker?
It depends on what your plan is. Again, you're following what's happening. Like if my plan is long-term wealth and I'm going to invest in, say, a Google or an Apple, and I'm like, hey, look, they want to go here, then it's about just consistently investing in it.
Okay.
But if my goal is, hey, I want to make 25%, like Bitcoin, or like I day trade, but not day trade, but I trade Bitcoin. Like there's certain stocks that I'll trade where I'll look at it, I'll be like, oh wait, it dropped. It hit its 52-week low today, so which is down 70%. If I put $5,000 into it and it goes up 20%, I'm out. Yeah. So that's, like it depends on the plan. What do I want to make the money on? Like I think we were talking about it earlier. A lot of times I'll have a plan like that. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to put a couple grand here. It's going to go up. And if it does, I'm going to sell most of it and I'm going to keep the rest and let it ride. Okay. And that's the house's money. And then whatever that does, I don't care if it goes up or down.
Right. So, just to piggyback, it's all about, like you said, it's like your game plan. So statistically speaking, like the longer like you're in the stock market, right, you're going to produce a positive return.
Yeah.
So the lesser you're in the stock market, then you mentioned like it's more like gambling because you never know what's going to happen on a day-to-day
It
basis.
could crash any day, right?
Exactly. So statistically speaking, the longer you're in there, right? So there hasn't been like a 20-year period where like the stock market hasn't produced a positive return. So you're 17?
Yeah.
So you're 17. So if you're going to be in the stock market until you retire at 60 years old, you know, you don't have to worry. You know, like you said, you put money in every month, every week, every time you get paid, you put $100, $50, whatever you can afford, you know, and you'll produce a positive return.
Again, there's companies that have been around for a long time, so you're investing in them. You know, if you're investing in a startup company or like a penny stock, then you got to be mindful. Like if it goes down to like 10 cents, don't keep throwing money in it, but keep investing in find a different stock or whatever. But over time, generally, it goes up.
Right.
Wow.
And we just want to take a moment to remind our viewers that while we're discussing some good nuggets and some strategies, this is not intended to serve as financial advice.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a professional.
If any kind of financial advice, you definitely want to seek a certified professional there. So just reminding our viewers, but something
That'll be
that's
episode 3. That's
episode 3, right? One of the things that I always hear Justin talking about, and I'm sure you have it too, is it relates to investing, parameters or criterias. Right. So I know, Justin, you've told me before about like how you set kind of certain parameters on where, you know, to limit your loss or where your investments kind of go. So if you want to kind of touch into that, and I'd love to hear about you too.
So like if you're a trader, right, or if we call it like a swing trader or a day trader, you can set parameters where, you know, you're not losing. If I'm putting $1,000 into the market, I can set parameters. Okay, if I lose 20% of this $1,000, that'll sell it for me, you know. Or I could put it where if I make 25%, it also sell it for me. So it all depends on kind of what's your risk tolerance. You know, if you can afford to lose $200, you know, you put 20%. If you say, you know, I'm fine with losing $500, you could put 50%. But the usually the safest way, like I said, if you're a kid or, you know, and you're trying to build long-term wealth, you know, the S&P 500, for example, top 500 companies in America by market cap. If you invest in that on a monthly basis for years, like you're not gonna lose, you know. And what people don't know about the S&P 500 is like it's like a club. So if a company is not performing well, right, they remove that company from the S&P 500, and then they find a company to put, you know, in the S&P 500, and it's all companies that were all, you know, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, all companies you're aware of, you know, it's in the S&P 500.
Awesome. So that's a good point. So it's about kind of not just jumping into something, but you want to kind of have little guidelines, risk tolerance, or, you know, certain parameters. So Matt, I know, while not that can go for investments, but maybe you want to talk about that checklist or how you kind of go into certain investments, because it sounds like you have clear strategies or clear plans on what you're willing to tolerate, time that you're willing to invest, and if it doesn't meet that criteria, you're not necessarily going to move forward with it.
Well, I mean, greed is what gets to you. You know, you invest in that first stock and it's at $1 and it hits $10, you get greedy. You know, at the end of the day, if you look at it long term, you're like, wow, I just 10x my money. I should really sell. But you're like, no, it's going to go up to 20. It's going to go up to 30. So setting those parameters, the stop losses, and understanding, you know, what your goal is really important, because I've got hit more times where I made a lot of where on paper it looked like I was about to make a lot of money and then it dropped. You know, and if my goal was to just get in and get out, I got greedy. So I do have a lot of parameters and stuff like that. And now it's more like there's so much technology out there that could help you. You could set up the stop losses. You know, the S&P 500. Like a lot of people, they get a retirement account and they set it up one way and they never look at it again. And a financial advisor actually told me, he was like, if you go in your account, there's one button at the bottom. He was like, if you check that button, it's like the best thing you could do. And basically it was like the day you set it up, you set up what you want. You want to put 20% in high risk, 30% in this, and 50% in cash or whatever, however you want to do it. He was like, that's the only day that account is set up that way. Every day from that point forward, it's whatever the accounts are doing. So the high risk might become 80% because it doubled this year.
Right.
He was like, when you click that button, it'll reallocate it every quarter, every year, and it'll keep you in the parameters you want. He was like, so what happens is a lot of people will be like, look, I'm young, I'm going 80% high risk. And their account will skyrocket, but they leave it at 80% high risk, and then we have a downturn in the market, and they just lost 80% of their value in 1 month. If they would have had that button checked, it would have been, they would have lost 10%.
Yeah.
So like something like that is, just being educated and taking advantage of, other people that could tell you how to do it.
Right. And I know also you have, what's the company? Zoom and Groom.
Yeah.
So, and like I teach high school kids, right? And a lot of them want to be like business owners too. Like they get the investment side from me, and then they come talk to me like, Mr. Roos, how do I open up a business? I'm like, I can't help you, man. Like, I know I have my own business, but like the ins and outs, where to get started, how to, become successful, the steps, to takes to spot a good business to invest in, I don't know. So if you are, you have a high school kid here, or if you was talking to high school kids, if they want to become business owners, where would you tell them like to start? I know you said before, like your passion first, but after that.
If I was a high school, so the thing about business most people don't understand is most of the time your business becomes a job. Most people think like business owners are filthy rich. They're not. Like most businesses are creating a job. They have a company that, you have a Subway or whatever. The company does $500,000, they make $100,000 take home, they have $100,000 job. It's understanding the process, which is super important to me. So, and this is kind of like a lot of people say this is wrong, but for me, the first step, I would go buy a franchise. And the reason being is the franchise system is about systems and processes. I'm not telling you you're going to get rich. I'm not telling you you're going to create $1 million business. But when you buy a franchise, they teach you how to open up the business. They teach you how to set the business up. They teach you about insurance. They have all the systems and processes out. That's why if you go to McDonald's, every part of that business is lined up. Not all franchises are like that, but you could buy a business like, say, dog grooming, the Zoom and Grooming. I didn't know nothing about dog grooming. I bought the company. I went down there. I trained for 2 weeks. I came back up here. I opened it up. I still know nothing about it. I know a little bit more now. I run the business, but they taught me everything I needed to know. They taught me the app I needed to use. They taught me the programs. They taught me how to hire people. Like everything about the business. And that business is not going to make me rich per se in owning one, but I own 20 of them now. Now I'm starting to make real money. So that's the goal. Like, I'm not saying go buy a franchise and that's the end of the world. I'm saying buy the franchise and use that to level up if you want to go into the business world. Because the biggest thing about business is learning from other people's mistakes. And when you have a franchise, they've already did most of the mistakes you're going to make. And that's the goal. And then, again, I own businesses that are franchised and I own businesses that aren't. Some of them I would go into the franchise against, some of them I wouldn't. But at 18 years old, I don't think you could go wrong.
Wow.
And, what's great as we're talking about investing on those points is financial is just one kind of investment, like you were saying, because you're investing money, you're investing your time, you're investing your energy. So in kind of like looking at all those different factors, and I think that's something for our viewers to think about, where it's not just all about the money, right? And also too, the spirit of justified riches, is it ethical, right? Does it resonate with your heart? There's certain businesses, let's say, liquor store, cool, nothing wrong with that. But, right, there might be an individual who's like, hey, I don't want to necessarily, that doesn't necessarily resonate with me. So is that something too, when you're looking at a business or an investment, like how it relates to how you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, going by the handing out smiles, I'll talk about that. So that was a business that I'm not even open yet, but I had met a guy at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and he bought a franchise, and I was, it's a Kona ice truck. It's not shaved ice truck. He bought it, and I was like, oh, cool. We got introduced because a lot of people like, oh, Matt owns franchises. So we started talking, and I kind of followed him, and he opened up last year, and I ran into him at a couple of events, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Every time he gave me like the thumbs up. And then I was like, you know what? My son's birthday's coming up. Let me invite him over to my son, to do like whatever. So he came to the birthday. He was there for 45 minutes. The bill was like $300. I had like 50 10-year-old kids. It was straight up chaos. As soon as he pulled down that block, they lined up. They ran over there. And I watched this guy. All he did was take a cup, put it in this machine. It filled it with ice. And then the kids picked their own flavors.
Wow.
So... But everybody was smiling, everyone was laughing, and I was like, "Yo, he's getting paid to hand out smiles." 45. I have a niece. She's probably 6, 7, maybe she was 5 or 6, whatever. But she was just like, everybody left, and she's sitting there just talking to this guy about, he came to her school and all these crazy flavors, and she was just like, wow. And I'm like, this dude's making money. And he's handing out smiles. So for me, that really hit. And like I told my partners, I'm like, I'm buying it. And they're like, you're not going to go and do it. And I'm like, even if I'm not going to go do it, I could see myself doing it. I like the concept behind it. It's a good business. Like they're handing out sugar water and everyone's happy. So like in my mind, I'm like, so now it comes into play a lot. So like that business, I'm going to train in March. I'm gonna run that. I'm gonna hire a manager to run it for me. You might see me in a truck occasionally, but in my mind, I'm always like, I like the concept.
Absolutely.
And I was gonna say like, kids want to know, but I want to know this too. Like, what do you think is a top side hustle? Like someone could start tomorrow.
That's hard. For me, I usually say like before you think about a top side hustle, you have to find out like what your superpower is.
Right.
Like what are you good at? Are you good at managing? Are you good at, investing? Because again, most of the time it's not even a side hustle, it's just investing.
Right.
Take $50 a week and put it in the S&P 500. Like that's gonna grow more than you spending time doing things. But if you're passionate about taking pictures, then maybe it's being a photographer. But the biggest mistake I see is people try to do things because they think there's money there, but they hate doing it.
Right.
So like it happens with business partners. Like I have all my businesses I have partners on, or most of them. And everyone has what I call their superpower. And occasionally, like someone's doing more work than someone else, or someone's doing something. So you try to like change the system up, and it's like you try to get somebody that's not good at something to do something, only because you feel like you're doing more work.
Right.
And it really just messes the whole game up. And it's like it creates more work for everybody. And it's like he's not in his superpower. Like so, either find something that he could do that he's good at, or it's going to cost you more money to do that. So I don't want to say that there is a top side hustle. But again, it's one of those things that do it, try it. If it don't work, try something else. When I started my first business, it wasn't home inspections. It was carpet cleaning.
Okay.
And I realized real quick that it was a service business. People were never really happy. They were cheap. Like, you go look online and you see, I'll clean your whole house of carpets for $200.
Right.
And then, at the end of the day, we were sweating. And I'm like, this is the worst business in the world for me. It wasn't my superpower. So I got rid of it as fast as we bought it. And then I got into home inspections, and I'm like, I really like this business. I could show up, walk through a house with people, someone that's excited about buying a house, meet a real estate agent. We do the home inspection, and at the end of the day, it cost me 3-4 hours of my time, and I made $400 or $500. I'm pretty happy. I made good money, and I could do it after work. I could do it, you know, on the weekends. I could work for someone else. Like there were so many options available. Like when I got into the home inspection business, I didn't know I was going to be a franchise, or I didn't know I was going to have a big company. I just was like, hey, look, I work for the power company from, you know, 6 to 3. I could do one home inspection every day at 4 o'clock. You know, and if I did one every day at 4 o'clock, I made an extra $2,000 a week. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? You know, and if I don't do any, I'm okay. I still have my job. So it was like a part-time hustle that became a full-time hustle.
Right. I have to agree with you when you say like you know, find something that you're passionate about. You know, your superpower.
Superpower.
Because one of my first side hustles was sanding floors. Right. It's called Just Clean Floors, and it was a skill that I knew how to do. Wasn't passionate about it, but it was a skill I knew how to sand floors, and it wasn't for me, man. Dust flying everywhere, dirty. And then the return. You know, like you said, $200 for sanding the whole house. I'm like, nah, man, this is not it. This is not it.
Wow. That's such a good point, because I had a couple of years ago I had gotten laid off. I been in banking my whole life, and then I had gotten laid off. And one of my really good friends at Mentors has a pest control business, and he, you know, extremely successful, making money like crazy. And I was like, all right. So I wanted to get my certification, and I just couldn't do it. I went into the basement and I started seeing cockroaches and all kinds of insects. And my boy, he's amazing. Like there could be something crawling on him. He's like, doesn't even sweat it. And I just could not. And it kind of like made me feel like a failure at first, because I was like, man, why can't I do this? But it ties into what you guys are saying, right? If we're thinking about investing, and especially going to invest our time, you got to figure out what you like and what you don't like. And not everything is for everybody, right? So.
Yeah, and I mean, for you, like, you'll see it happens a lot with college kids. Like, people go to college for 4 years for something that they think they want to be, and then they're miserable for the next 40 years because they don't want to switch. You know, so remember, you can always switch. Like, there are other options. You don't have to do what you thought you were going to do. Even if you talked about it your whole life, you could pivot and go another direction.
Yeah, I've heard too much cases of where, you know, the pay may be great. You know, the pay may be like amazing, you know, beyond compare, but it's not going to be the job that you want if you're miserable doing it, you know?
There's a happy medium. Like, not everyone's fully happy.
Yeah.
Like, if you get paid really good and you're all right, you might want to stay there, you know, because it's not always greener on the other side. But at the same time, like, if you're truly miserable, the pay don't matter. Like, you know, if your life is not where you want it to be, then, you know, you could pivot.
Yeah.
Absolutely good point. You know, and one of the things, right, in terms of investing, especially when I was like doing my research on you, is I'm curious, because there's investing time, but like with all these different businesses, I would imagine people are a key component of these businesses being successful. So would you say part of what you do too is investing in other people?
As I got better, yes. Like, that's my goal now. Like, who can help change, or who can run the company, or who can I put in that spot? You know, it's definitely about people. Because again, I'm looking at it as an investor, not as a business owner. Like, I don't see myself starting a business and running it, every part of the business right now. So if I'm looking at the Kona truck, when I first looked at it, I'm like, all right, who can I get to run this? And I started thinking like, all right, teachers, they're off all summer, they could be in the truck. High school students could help the truck. So I started figuring out who could help me run the truck. And then even like, I was like, okay, now I got scheduling. I have my Zoom and grooming where all we do is schedule dog grooms. I could just hand that off to them. They could schedule the parties or where we got to be. And I figured it out backwards. And that's kind of how I look at it. You know, it's definitely about the people. You know, the right people will take you to the next level. The wrong people will set you back.
And thank you. And this is, I think, $1 million question for our young people out there. What would you say are like, right, the same way if we're investing in a stock, there's certain criteria. So for you, what are maybe like 2 or 3 core qualities that you look for in someone? And I know it could vary whether they're going to do operations or sales, but there's probably like 2 or 3 consistent qualities that you look for in a person.
Again, these are harder questions because it depends on what I'm looking for. But again, I want to make sure that their core values align with mine. Like, and what is their vision? So my mentor says, your personal and business goals have to line up. So I have to understand, like, what do they want and where do they want to go? If I'm looking to build a business and you tell me your goal is to own your own business, and I don't foresee me ever letting you own my business, then we're not the right people. No matter how much time I invest in you, you're going to learn here and you're going to go start your own business. So unless I have a path for you, I had an employee that all I kept trying to do was give him more money. He complained, you want to raise, whatever. And it wasn't working. He wasn't motivated. He wasn't there. And then I realized that, again, business, he wanted more time off. So, like, he wanted to go gamble or go to do something with time off. So I was trying to give him raises when all I had to do was say, hey, go take the day off and go to Atlantic City. Right. And that worked 100 times more than trying to give him $1 raise, $2 raise. Even though he would have made more money, he wanted more time off. So that was one of his values. So that's kind of where you got to make sure they align. Like, if I'm talking to somebody that, again, a hungry person, when you talk to business owners, like a lot of successful business owners, before they opened their business, you knew they were going to be successful because they had that drive. They just had that thing. Again, if I can't make them part of my business or that's not my goal, it's never going to work. So, like, trying to understand that and understand them as a person is really the goal.
Right. And, I'm kind of new to, running a business and, trying to level up. And I realized the importance of having somebody that or like a mentor, that's walked the path already. How important you think it is for like a young person to have, like a mentor or a big brother just to guide you through?
I think that's one of the most important. And again, when I say mentor, it doesn't have to be a paid mentor. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff that's available that's super valuable. But I think you need learning from other people's mistakes is the key. And most people that have leveled up want to teach. So I have I call them mentors. Some of them don't even know they're my mentor. Because I'll hit them up with a question or like have a conversation with them, and I'm getting a whole lot more from it. They just think I'm asking an everyday question, but I'm like, so having those people in your circle is super, super important, because I think the worst thing is everybody gives advice, but 99% of the time it's bad advice. Most of the people that you get advice from shouldn't be giving it to you. And it's not because they think they're giving you bad advice or they're not educated. It's because if they're not doing what you want to do, what they're telling you is what they think. Right. I could always go back to like my parents. My parents grew up, get a good job, get good benefits, work for 45 years, retire. That's their mindset. So when I had a good job and I had, all of that, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to quit and go start a business that's making no money, they were like, what are you doing? Like, this is like a dumb thing. Like, what? Stop being a kid and be an adult and keep your job. And it wasn't just them. It was my in-laws. It was everybody. Like, even my friends, they're like, yo, like, I think this is kind of stupid. Like, you want to go be a home inspector. Right. You make $200,000 a year. Like, it's never going to work, And again, the advice wasn't that they were trying to hurt me. It was just that it was bad advice. And I didn't listen to them. I listened to someone else that was just like, do it. It was actually a book. And look at where I'm at now. I'm happy now. And again, if I'd listened to them, I would have went the last 10 years at my job and always been thinking, like, what if I would have did it? Right. And if it didn't work, I would have figured out another job or whatever. So, like, again, taking advice, you gotta really pay attention who you're taking advice. You could listen to it, you could run it over in your head, but if it doesn't align with what you're thinking, ask someone else.
So, would you say that, or at least before, and maybe not now anymore, would you say, like, before, when you started out, were you like a big risk taker?
I'm still a big risk taker. I still like to gamble. I do it more educated now. Again, the time I left my job, you know, when you look at it on a risk thing, I had 2 houses, 3 kids, I made good money, and I was risking it all for a book I read. You know, so I'm definitely a risk taker, but it's more, you know, strategic now. And I understand like my level of risk is not your level of risk. And again, that's why you got to learn what your superpowers are and what you're comfortable with. Like, I'm not saying what I did wouldn't have worked for 90% of the people, but it worked for me. You know, like one of my business partners, this guy is the best saver. Everything's like, he's analytical. He would have had a heart attack from the stress of leaving the job. So it wasn't the right choice for him. It was the right choice for me.
Nice. So would you say, like, is there any risks that you've taken that have either paid off extremely well or like paid off extremely bad in your time?
I mean, most of them have paid off extremely well, but it's a lot of time. You know, like, I'll go back to another one. When I was 19 years old, I wanted to buy a house, right? 2004, market was going straight up. Everybody was talking real estate. So I went out, and again, parents, friends, everybody was like, you live at home for free. Why are you going to go buy a house? Why are you going to go get a mortgage? But I wanted to take that risk. I took the risk. I bought a house. 3 years later, it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. 2008 happened. The house I bought for $350 was worth $200,000. And again, everybody's like, why don't you just claim bankruptcy, do this, do that? I didn't do that. I kept the house. You know, I was able to pay it. Fast forward, now that's the best investment. One of the best investments. The house is worth, you know, $600,000. I owe $200 on it. That house I rented to a tenant. Now, because I moved out, pays for 2 more houses. So my mortgage is like $1,500. He pays me $3,100. I have a house in Pennsylvania he pays for. So again, it's all the time. And when, you know, if I would have looked at it in 2008 and cashed out, I would have been sitting here telling you, the worst investment I ever bought was a house. You know, but the fact that I wrote it out and, you know, whatever, I paid, and now I'm telling you it's one of the best. You know, so like that's the whole timing thing.
Oh man, such excellent points. And you know, as we are wrapping up, and we're like getting tangible lessons for the young people. I mean, one of the things that I admire about what you were saying is there's this quote that I love by Zig Ziglar, says you can have anything in life you want if you help enough people get what they want. And it's clear as day, because when you're talking about figuring out what is in it for the person, right? Like you may think, oh, for that guy, this, you know, money was going to solve his issue, but you actually took the time to find out what they wanted and you led with that. And I think, you know, just one of the things I'm pulling from this interview with you is like that seems to be like a mantra that you live by, that you're always trying to figure out what is in it for them and then kind of working your way back to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that's what, going back to the entrepreneur word. Everybody like from social media thinks entrepreneur is like this big rich person, right. And it's really like the entrepreneur. Like in my mind, like I'm broker than most of the people I'm involved with because I'm giving as much as I can back. Like I'm building it for us, right. You know. So I'm investing time, energy, and money because I want us all to be there. And you know, it's hard because a lot of times like I'll be like, damn, I'm struggling, and they're chilling. But it's like this, the end goal is where we want to be at. And, you know, I don't know.
I see some other nuggets, you know, there. It sounds like you're saying you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Definitely. Definitely. And that's on my wall, too.
Oh, yeah.
My office is all full of quotes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that actually brings us to a question we like to ask, and then I'll pass the mic over to you, Justin. What's of the many quotes and pieces of information, what would you put on a highway billboard? Like, what's a nugget, either a quote or you probably have a lot.
No, I don't know. That those are hard ones. I mean, again, I'm gonna put 10% is yours to keep because that's kind of like, you know, that's never steered me wrong.
I like that, right? So 10%. So it's like the pay yourself first concept.
Pay
right?
yourself first and invest that. You know, you have to have your soldiers making money. They have to be out there on the streets making money. And if you start young, you'll never feel it. Like, that's the one lesson I learned is your first paycheck, if you take 10% and invest it, you're at the beginning. You're going to get pay raises. You're going to get bonuses. You're going to get overtime. If you do it the first time, you're never going to feel it. But if you wait 10 years and then say, okay, I'm going to start spending 10%, you're going to really feel it.
Right. And you got a quote, Christian?
Do I have a quote that I like? I mean, I have a lot of quotes. I'm kind of blanking right now.
It's hard when they put you on the spot.
Oof. I think I have to get back to you. Wait, I really have. I have a nice quote. I can't think of it. I'm gonna check on my phone real quick. While you guys look.
We'll come back.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. I'm just sharing one of mine that I truly love is actions speak louder than words. Especially too, like with dialogue and even like in our own mind, because right, like we have this mechanism in our mind that helps protect our ego. So sometimes we'll rationalize to make it sound good to protect our ego. But I always find actions, the proof is in the pudding, you know. And even for yourself, whether you're looking at the way someone moves, or also even for myself, because there's been times where, hey, I want to be the best dad. Okay, what are my actions saying? Am I never home, you know? So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm being the best dad. But at the end of the day, I think action speaking louder than words is a good kind of gauge to cut through all the BS that sometimes is out there, especially people justifying.
Right.
And no pun intended.
Out the Justified Riches quote, right, from, I think, Frederick Douglass. It's better to build a stronger youth than heal broken men. You know? And I think
that's deep.
What we're trying to do, you know? We're trying to mentor the youth, and we've been going back and forth with this too. Like, it's not a quote, but it's just a word: execute. You know, a lot of people get stuck on just thinking and overthinking things, and I think it's important.
Analysis paralysis.
There you go.
That's it.
Analysis paralysis. That's in. Is that Richest Man of Babylon too?
I don't know, but
It's in one of those.
Yeah,
one
it's
of the
definitely
books.
in one of them.
Yeah, analysis by paralysis. Right, but you have to execute at the end of the day. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I found it. I don't know what this is from. I don't know why I didn't get to write that, but it says the beginning of wisdom is to admit that you don't know. And the reason why I like this quote is it shows a lot of humility, especially for somebody like me at a young age. You can never stop learning. I mean, it don't matter what age you are, you don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. You know what I'm saying? There's not a limit to the amount you can learn, and that's why I'm here right now. I want to learn more about investing. The more you learn, the more you improve in your life, the more, side hobbies or whatever, it's just going to make you happier in life. Not only do you maybe get more money, you can get more happiness in life, by learning.
I like that one.
That's what I like.
Right.
So I won't put you on the spot anymore, but is there any other pieces of wisdom or anything that you want to leave our young people out there with?
Education, and not college education. If that's for you, that's for you. Just, I personally spend a lot of money every year educating myself. Like next year, I'm going to Wharton Business School for a week for an advanced business class. Last year, I went to Harvard for a week. I'm at class, like my goal is to just keep learning. I found Audible, and I listen to a book or two a week, and it could be I could go down a rabbit hole on some crazy stuff, but it's just learning and keep learning. And, again, you forget a lot, just keep educating. Like you're never like you said, I know what I don't know. So I just got to keep learning and it just keep learning.
Right. Thanks, man.
Sorry. I like the point, where you said, college. So, my question to you is, or to all you guys actually, not just to you, but I'm a 17 senior in high school. I have two solid plans. Well, not fully solid, but I have two plans or routes that I want to take. To be honest with you, I don't want to go to college, mainly because of the money. But if I have to, I will. I understand that you can never stop learning. College is a great education, but I know that there's also a lot of there's a lot of other ways that you can learn that same information for a lot cheaper and still going about your life. So do you guys think for like the future generations to come, do you think it would be a better route to go to college or to not go to college?
Hard question. So when you started, or I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, you said you wanted to be like a mathematician, cybersecurity engineer. If you need college for that, then you have to go to college. Right. I don't. Again, I argue with people all the time about this. Like, I don't say college is the way. But if you're 18 years old and you have no idea what you want to do and you're just going to graduate and just do nothing, go to college. Try to pick up, like, take random classes. Keep getting educated. If you have a plan and you're like, hey, look, I'm going to go buy a franchise and run a business, maybe you don't need college, and then you could do side stuff and learn from online. But college definitely helps. Like, again, I'm signing up for college classes now at 40 years old because it's what I need in my life now. You might not need it at 18, but if you have no direction, you should probably go. And if you need it, like if you want to be a lawyer or a teacher, you have to go to college. There is no podcast you could watch that could help you.
Right, and as a teacher, like, someone who has their master's degree, college is, to me, I was never a person who thought I would go to college, but college is basically time. Like, if you have the time to do it, and like you said, if it's something that you need, like to become a teacher, like you need a teacher's license, you need your degree, right? There's certain professions you need to go to college to get that certificate. But if it's like a music engineer, like, do I need to go to college to become a music engineer, right? Is there other routes I could take? Is there a class or a trade school that I could take to accomplish the same thing without spending all this money, to become, what you want to be?
And one more thing on that. It's not always about the college, but it's about the networking and who you're going to meet. Like he just said, like if you're going to be a music engineer and you sign up to a college that does that, you're going to meet people that are doing that. And you might not get your degree or graduate, but you're going to know those people the rest of your life. And some of them might, like the people you meet along the way help you more than anything else.
Some excellent points. Feel like we learned so much from you, Matt, just in like an hour here, and kind of putting on my Matt cap in terms of answering that question, right? It's like figuring out the individual, right? Like figuring out specifically what are you passionate about, right? So if you want to answer that question, it's like, what do you want to do? That's one route. And then do I need to go to college for that? There's a quote that I'm sure we both know by, I think it's Jim Rohn, where formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a millionaire. And that's something that I could see resonates with what you're saying, continual self-education on that. So, Matt, I can't tell you how excited we are. I feel like it's definitely going to be a regular guest on the podcast. For like just an hour is not enough to get all the nuggets of information that you got here.
It.
And I know you actively mentor young people as well, which is absolutely amazing. How can our guest or viewers find out more about you?
I mean, I'm on everything, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. They could find me on that. Probably the easiest way.
Excellent. I know you got a robust LinkedIn profile as well. I'd never seen it where I was like scrolling through pages and pages and it was like, see more. And I like that. Definitely.
Again, time. It's been years. Like it wasn't overnight. LinkedIn's been out since probably like 2012 and I've had an account since then. So, I work on it.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an absolutely fantastic time. We have Matt Rivera, Advanced Utility Solutions, the grooming business. What's the name of the grooming business?
Zoom and Grooming.
Zoom and Groom.
I've seen the truck.
You see the truck, right? And like if
Inspection Boys, Kona Ice, Main Street Success. We got you.
There you go, Matt.
A-Tax, Johnson.
See?
We're going to get to 18.
We'll shout him out by the next time we speak to him. We'll see, because I know you've got this checklist now that you said you use before kind of jumping into things. You have like an analysis. So while we didn't get to touch on that,
I'm actually cutting down a little bit. Like I'm getting rid of some of the stuff that takes too much time or energy.
Absolutely. Folks, we definitely will be having Matt on again. There's so many different topics on financial wellness and financial literacy that he's just been giving us some nuggets on, and I'm sure he's going to do it some more. And he loves paying it forward, which I think that's something big that we could all take. It's about paying it forward. Once you have something, how do you give back? And just kind of keeps the cycle going, and you're clearly are successful because of that. You focus on others first. You want to understand what makes other people tick, where a lot of business owners are trying to force others to fit into their model, and you're flexible and willing to adjust your model based on the needs of the person, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So, ladies and gentlemen, Justified Riches. I am Rich Tavares, Positivity Pusher, my co-host.
Justin, aka Stock Knock Life.
And our guest, please sign
Matt,
off.
aka Matt.
Christian Tavares.
Excellent. Signing off. And remember, it's all about paying it forward. You can have anything in life you want if you help enough others get what they want. Thank you.